Arcade Master here, and this is my very first tutorial. Now, this tutorial has a very interesting story behind why I'm doing it. Here I will explain. The program I use for programming my games is GDevelop, and everyone who has used GDevelop at least twice or for a while as its main source of making games knows or has seen this video. Multiplayer games, very simple. Very necessary to know. And in this video, Mr. Kipren the Pirate 3512 asked various questions of how to fix problems that I think were shown in the video, and today I'm going to show how to fix them or ideas on how to fix them. The video was suggested by Mr. Electric Wolfie, so shout out to him, and let's get to the video. Here I have an example project about what was shown in that video. The general stuff, like the text that shows the ID, the copy button, the create button, and the join button. I also added a text box so that you can write. It's much newer than in that video, and it's much better, I'd say, much easier to use, so I recommend using that. Let's open some previews and you will immediately see what is different this time. So we're here, we just go in, copy our text, paste it, hit play, and well, you can see these are the two players. Nothing special really, but here it is shown. First window opened, second window open, and the respective player moves. Also, the way that the game knows where the character is specifically is very interesting, so I'm also going to show that as an extra. How did we do it? First of all, you have to create a variable. In this game I called it isPlayer1. It's a boolean because it could be either true, that you are, or false, that you are not. For example, player 2. In this example, there's only 2 players, but in more advanced examples, there could be even more. In that case, you should use a number instead of a boolean, so that's how you would do it. So, in the code, you may see that it's basically the same that was shown in the video. In this example, I'm using a default broker server so that I don't have to overcomplicate stuff, just so it's nice and simple. Now, the main difference you may notice is that in the join button, it has a line of code that says that set the boolean value of a global variable isPlayer1 to false. That is because when you join, it means that you are not player 1, that you are player 2. And that's how the game will know that you are player 2 or 1. When you create it, it will go to true instead of false, so that means that you're player 1. The one who creates the game is player 1, the one who joins it is player 2. Simple stuff. And now in the game scene itself, you can see how I made 2 groups for each player. Player 1 is basically just, first it will detect if you are player 1 and then start moving the player 1 object. In this example, I made it so that player 1 and player 2 are different objects. In more advanced projects, you might as well just use one object and create many objects as you go. And see, it has a simple top-down movement, nothing special. Now, you may notice the 2 lines of code at the bottom. Those we will see later. That would be the main part of the video. That's what I was asked to do. And it's really not that hard to make. And since the video would be very short otherwise, I decided to add the extra of how to make the player movement know exactly the position the player is, as opposed to what was shown in GemDev's video, that was just telling the other peers when you have moved and where, instead of telling them where you are. which would make it so that if you have moved and the peer was not sent, then they would not have shown that you have moved, and then when you do move, you will be in different positions, which will not happen by using this system. So to make that, what I did was that I made an array variable with 3 children. Depending on what you have in your game, you might as well have more. If you're making a game with health, which would be the ideal, you will add another one to show your health, and you can make it for different things. In this example, 0 is the X position of player 1 in this case, 1 would be the Y position, and 2 would be the rotation. The same applies for player 2, just an array with 3 variables, 0 is X, 1 is Y, 2 is rotation, all the same. In this line of code, I made it so that the child with the number 0 shows the player X position. In number 1 shows the Y position, and in number 2 it will display the angle, just what I said earlier. And using an event, we can make it so that it will show as an extra data the variable of player 1 pose, which would be these 3 variables. And on the player 2, we will make it so that using the player 1 position variable on player 2 screen will load the information and put the X position, put player 1 in player 2 screen in the X position that player 1 is in his screen. The same applies for Y position and the angle, and thus making it so that the player looks exactly the same. The same will be made for player 2 using the variable player 2 pose and making exactly the same, but then to player 1 we will send it, and using the same player 2 pose variable, load the information and display the player on the right position. Here I'm going to show you one last time the previews, the example. So we copy, we paste, we create, we join, and you can see how the player is in the exact same position, and it will always be like that as long as you can get the information. Even if the game lags out and you cannot do it correctly, you will be able to load that information correctly. So that's going to be it. I hope I can release the project on a downloadable format so that you can download it and check it out yourself, and you can even clone the code onto your project. So yeah, so that would be it for the video. Goodbye.